Hello viewers and welcome to yet another Warhammer 40,000 Conquest video production. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present yet another Planetfall cycle preview video in which we're going to see Travis McDaniel playing as Commander Starblaze, our newest Tau faction warlord, up against Guy Lev, who instead is playing as our upcoming Tyranid Genestealer trait warlord, subject Ω-X62113. His chosen Synapse unit is the Savage Warrior Prime, and as both of our players are deciding whether or not they want to keep their opening hands, Commander Starblaze has the unique option of including common Astra Militarum faction cards in his deck, but no other cards from a non-Tau faction. So no Astra Militarum events or anything along those lines, no Eldar allies, nothing like that. No Space Marines, so very dissimilar from what we've seen thus far for the Tau, and of course the reaction for Commander Starblaze is when he commits to a planet, you can move an Astra Militarum unit from an adjacent planet to his planet. Looks as though Travis is indeed going to keep his hand as our Starblaze player, and it looks as though Guy has come to the same conclusion himself. So what's special about Subject Ω-X is that it's a very infestation-centric Tyranid Warlord, so as soon as a planet is infested, if you have a Genestealer trait card in your hand, you can basically ambush it, so you can deploy it during the combat phase. Subject Omega is a 2/6, Commander Starblaze is also a 2/6, and the chosen Synapse unit here is the Savage Warrior Prime. It doesn't necessarily key off of that infestation mechanic, but you don't necessarily want to build a deck focused all on one thing. So the Savage Warrior Prime has to go, if able, to a different planet other than where you commit your Warlord, and it basically triggers a battle as would a Warlord, and it also wins you initiative as would a Warlord, so definitely something to consider. Looks as though we see an Earthcast Technician played out by Travis to planet number 3. It's a command icon, 1 attack, 1 hit point. It allows you to fetch an attachment or drone trait card from the top 6 cards of your deck. That ended up being a copy of the Recon drone. No cost, 2 command icons. Hard to go wrong with a unit like that one. I hear it's pretty popular among the Tau, and definitely a great early game card here to see. We see a copy of the Digestion Pool. It's a unique support, limited by our Tyranid player here. As soon as you deploy a Tyranid to a planet that is infested, you exhaust that support to decrease its cost by 2, so that is absolutely fantastic. In assessing our opening layout of planets here, we see a possible victory condition very early indeed. Planet number 1 is going to be Barless, a random card discard planet. Planet number 2 is going to be Varn, which allows players to put an army unit from their hand into play directly into their HQ. Ossus number 4 is going to be planet number 3, and that allows you to steal 1 resource from the opposition. Theron allows you to rout a target non-warlord unit. That's going to be planet number 4, and planet number 5, where just arrived in Iron Guard recruits, played out by the very command phase savvy Commander Starblaze player, is going to be a 2-cost, 2 command icon unit with 1 attack and 2 hit points. And Planum, of course, as if I had to remind anyone, it allows you to move a non-warlord unit to the planet of your choice. So a Termagant Sentry ends up being played by Guy. He decides on planet number 3 for that one. It allows him to match the command icon value of that Earthcast Technician. It's not going to be doing much necessarily in regard to combat presence. Its ability keys off of Termagant tokens leaving play, and seeing as how we've got Subject Omega here, and a Savage Warrior Prime, not the Gravid Turvagon, and or the Swarm Lord, I can't imagine we're going to be seeing much in the way of Termagant tokens, but 1 cost, 1 command, hard to go wrong with something along those lines. And interestingly, we see a copy of the Assault Valkyrie put into play at planet number 2, and that makes me think that Commander Starblaze might show up at planet number 1, just because if we also see the Synapse unit or Subject Omega go to planet number 1, then Commander Starblaze can trigger his reaction to pull the Assault Valkyrie over to that planet. Very interestingly here, we've got the Scything Hormagaunts now played out to planet number 1. They're a 2/2 with a command icon. As soon as you deploy that unit, you infest the planet that they are at, and that means that whenever we happen to see a Tyranid deployed at that planet, you can reduce its cost by 2 thanks to the digestion pool. Note, we've got a copy of the signature army unit, the Invasive Gene Stealers, here in Guy's hand, and that means he could basically ambush this into play during combat at this infested planet 1 for the cost of 1 resource because of that support, and for the cost of 1, it's going to be a 1 command, 2 attack, 3 hit point unit that could subtract an enemy army unit's total HP, cut 1 from that value, and then it would become a 4 HP unit until the end of the phase. We've got a recon drone here, finally played out to planet number 4, and it looks as though both of our players are slowly but surely exhausting their hands of cards. So Travis is down to 0 resources, 4 cards. Guy instead is down to 2 resources and 3 cards. Looks like Commander Starblaze, to no one's surprise, has a far more formidable command presence, and it looks as though my thought regarding digestion pool putting that ambush unit into play for cheap was a little bit wrong. Instead, we see the virulent spore sacks put into play at planet number 1, so that's going to be yet another command icon at that planet. So I guess if we see Subject Omega go to planet number 1 and we see Commander Starblaze show up at planet number 1 and pull over the Assault Valkyrie, that's going to result in our Tyranid players still winning the command struggle at that planet. Looks as though both of our players have indeed passed, so here's what I'm going to call. I'm going to call planet number 1 as the site of Warlord committance for both of our players. Definitely Starblaze could go elsewhere, but it would be much more interesting should Starblaze try to vanquish our Tyranid at that planet. I think Starblaze could just as easily show up at planet number 3. If for some reason the Assault Valkyrie needs rescue, we could see Starblaze show up there. We could have Starblaze go to Farron, and then if the Iron Guard recruits are going to be killed off, potentially by the Savage Warrior Prime or Subject Omega himself, we could easily see Starblaze save that AM faction unit as well. So in assessing just, what combat tricks we need to look out for, the Invasive Gene Stealer is going to cost its full 3 resources, but it could be ambushed into play at planet number 1, and Regeneration here is going to be a 1 shield value card that's going to be much better saved for its conventional attachment use. Looks as though Starblaze is indeed going to go to planet number 4 to make sure that Farron is indeed captured, and looks like Subject Omega is going to be showing up at, that's going to be the, okay, I guess we maybe set our dial slightly incorrectly. Okay, no, now we're compensating for it. So Subject Omega is going to show up at planet number 4, and the Savage Warrior Prime shows up to planet number 5. So here's what we could see. We could have the Iron Guard recruits stay at this planet, or we could see them being pulled over by Commander Starblaze to Farron, just so that they're not killed by the Savage Warrior Prime. And the Savage Warrior Prime, should it win a battle at that planet, is going to be able to move any of these Tyranid faction units to whatever, next planet would be agreeable. And I can only imagine that that is going to be the Scything Hormagaunts being relocated here. So it looks like Travis was deciding whether or not he wanted to trigger that reaction. He ultimately settled upon no. That's going to be 1 card and 4 resources in total for our Tau faction player, relative to 2 cards and 0 resources for Guy. Seeing as how we're proxying Subject Omega in this video, why not go nuts and proxy some upcoming cards? We've got the Gene Stealer Harvesters, and I believe this card is going to come out during the final Gambit War Pack. That's the Flayed Skull Slavers. You can kind of see at the, the right-hand side of the card art, just barely cut off. So I believe this is War Pack number 6. We'll be seeing this unit, but it's yet another Gene Stealer trait card that you could ambush into play. It's a 2/2 with a command icon. While it's at an infested planet, it gives you an incredible Eldar Survivalist-esque +1 card and +1 resource bonus. But looks as though planet number 1 is going to be 1 entirely uncontested, added to Guy's victory display. That's going to be 1 green strong point type icon for Guy, so congratulations to him. And that's going to be Barless captured, so that's going to be a random card discarded from our player's hand here. So let me just see. I'm gonna make sure that our players do the card discard thing But it looks like we're also going to see combat break out at planet number 4. So Farron is going to be on the line. That's okay, looks like I accidentally missed the random card discard, so it's an ion rifle, so my bad. Apologies to our player Travis there, but in any case, Starblaze has the initiative token. Both warlords are present. He maintains initiative, and therefore he has the opportunity to take a bit of a swing at Subject Omega, and we do not see our Tyranid player get rid of either of his very valuable shield cards to kind of mitigate that damage. I presume Subject Omega might kill off this copy of Recon drones, just to make it all the less likely that our opponent's going to be able to, generate a glut of resources down the line here. But we've got 2 copies of the heavy marker drone, and I definitely would not be surprised to see one of those used as shields, but instead we actually see the recon drone destroyed. A couple other cards here inhabiting Travis's hand. He's got a copy of Sanctioned Psyker. It's yet another fantastic Astra Militarum option for ally that Commander Starblaze can take full advantage of. We've got a couple, 2 copies of the heavy marker drone. There are 2 value shield cards, pretty stellar. You slap them on an enemy army unit, any damage it takes is doubled. That is fantastic. As soon as we see regeneration show up on a unit, that could be great to get rid of that. And it looks like I actually forgot about Farron's reaction being able to target non-warlord units. I've been too busy with all my the Great Devourer card evaluation videos. Of course, a Synapse unit is a non-warlord unit, so that is going to be routed and sent packing. Planum's battle ability is not going to be activated by the Savage Warrior Prime, and therefore the Iron Guard recruits are not going to end up being destroyed. But we see an HQ phase come and go. That's going to be 4 resources and 2 cards for both of our new players. Looks as though the initiative token is now in the possession of Guy Lev. He came across a copy of the Ripper Swarm. It's kind of a bastardization of the Recon drones, but in a Tyranid version, it's limited, 1 command icon, no cost, 1 attack, 1 hit point. So it's got less economy potential and more combat phase potential than does the Recon drone. Interesting that we'd see a 0-cost card played so early during the deploy phase, but oh well. It's now positioned at planet number 3 to potentially win some cards and resources. At present, there are no infested planets, but Gene Stealer Harvesters, I suppose they could be ambushed into play. Same with these invasive Gene Stealers. It's just a damn shame that we're not seeing our Tyranid player able to benefit from infestation, and without an infested planet, note that the virulent spore sacs could definitely, during the combat phase, infest a planet. Then we could see Digestion Pool decrease the cost of an ambush Gene Stealer by 2, but we'll have to see what exactly happens here. We've got a copy of Volatile Pyrovore entering play for our Tyranid, 3/3 for 3 with a command icon. When it's destroyed by an attack, it deals out 3 points of damage to its attacker. Therefore, it would be a fantastic target to be destroyed by this Assault Valkyrie. That direct damage is going to circumvent workaround flying entirely, but perhaps our Tyranid has instead decided to forego that planet Yavvarn. But we could easily see Starblaze show up at planet number 2 and then pull the Assault Valkyrie over. But should that happen, then we're going to have to deal with all these Tyranids being able to, potentially beat the hell out of Starblaze. And I guess we could put these heavy marker drones in advance on some of these Tyranids, but that's going to be pretty tricky to kind of plan ahead for. And the virulent spore sacs, if they're detonated during combat, once the Assault Valkyrie is present, it's only 1 point of damage, but it again works around that flying keyword. So we've got the Sanctioned Psyker now opposite the Ripper Swarm. It's going to be 2 command icons trumping 1. Our new planet number 5 is going to be Iridial. Subject Omega could potentially benefit from that planet, but he has got a big contingent of units to deliver to a planet, and therefore it's not going to be very favorable for Guy to be sending his Warlord to Iridial. At present, if he manages to win at Ossus 4, if he can win at Planum, then that would be the game for him. Dissimilarly, if Travis wins at Yavvarn, if he gives up Ossus 4, he could win at Iridial. It kind of remains to be seen what exactly our Tau faction player is going to choose to do. But a Viorla Marksman touches down on planet number 1. Interestingly, we see a copy of the Borkon Recruits played out to planet number 1. It's a 2/2 for 2 with a command icon. When a Warlord is present, it's able to attack for a grand total of 4, getting a bit of a +2 attack boost. And I suppose I'm not tremendously surprised to see this, but it is nevertheless an interesting play. We've got a copy of Heavy Marker Drone affixed to the Volatile Pyrovore. Perhaps we're hoping that something along the lines of this Earthcast Technician might be the unit to deliver the killing blow to that Tyranid, as opposed to something much more formidable like the Assault Valkyrie here, just because if the Viorlaw Marksman softens it up, the Earthcast Technician can finish the job, and then 3 damage dealt to that is going to spare the Assault Valkyrie 3 points of damage, and then that'll leave it much more survivable. For instance, if an attack, a big swing of 4 was coming in, that would be cut in half to 2, and then you could just discard this Heavy Marker Drone, and then that would be a big fat 0. So Subject Omega, I presume, will be showing up at planet number 2, but I most definitely could be wrong. The Virulent Spore Sacs could be detonated to try to kill off the Earthcast Technician prior to its destroying the Volatile Pyrovore, and we could see the Savage Warrior Prime show up again at Planum, or it could show up to Farron, just in case Commander Starblaze would want to try to stick around and win at that planet. And of course, if at any point our Savage Warrior Prime does look as though it's going to end up being destroyed, we've got this convenient copy of Fall Back to return it to play from discard pile into the Tyranid player's HQ, and then it can of course live again to fight another day the following round, and just keep on kind of maintaining its reign of terror across the face of the Traxxas sector. So Commander Starblaze shows up to planet number 2. I can only imagine that that is presumably going to mean that the Assault Valkyrie is going to be relocated to planet number 2. We have got the Subject Omega showing up at planet number 2, much as I surmised he would. The Scything Hormagaunts arrive exhausted. The Virulent Spore Sacs are also exhausted, but a combat action of theirs need not have them be ready or exhausted in order to benefit from that. Savage Warrior Prime, this is a very interesting choice here. So if Commander Starblaze pulls the Assault Valkyrie from planet number 1, that means it's only going to be this copy of the Borkon Recruits facing down the Savage Warrior Prime. Note that there is indeed a copy of Ketachan Outpost in the HQ of Commander Starblaze to augment the Borkon Recruits back up to their attack of 4. But, we could see Fall Back save it. We could see Regeneration used as shields, and considering the Savage Warrior Prime is going to have the ability to attack first, it could get in 2 shots, and then we could have the Borkon Recruits killed. Yvarn could be won by our Tyranid player, and then if he manages to win Ossus 4, Subject Omega, like a little bit of a sneaky Tyranid bastard, might just end up winning this game very quickly indeed. But it's going to be a total of 1 card and an incredible 6 resources for our Tau player, and Guy instead looks like he is not going to end up winning anything, so just completely smothered and choked in regard to income. Borkon Recruits are going to take a swing from the Savage Warrior Prime. Are we going to see the Heavy Marker Drone used now to spare their miserable existence? Are we going to delay the inevitable by having this Heavy Marker Drone used as shields? Because let me tell you, it would be far better served used on this Assault Valkyrie here, and Guy has 1 resource, but he's got a Digestion Pool, and what are we going to see? I can only hope and pray that the Invasive Gene Stealers are going to drop into play and, help tear down the Assault Valkyrie here. There we go. Rooting for my Tyranid here. That's going to be the Heavy Marker Drone used to block those shields. Well, sorry, to block that incoming attack of 2. And if you can do this, Guy, you will have, my kudos. So the Borkon Recruits takes a swing of 2 at the Savage Warrior Prime. Looks like it's not going to be augmented by the Ketachan Outpost, which is going to be a bit of a damn shame. Regeneration is used as shields. Very interesting play indeed. That's only going to be 1 point of damage dealt out to the Savage Warrior Prime. Both of these units are going to ready, and now look, we've only got 1 card in the hand of our Tau faction player. He decides to retreat. Are we going to see Guy be so bold as to trigger Yvarn? My gut tells me no. There's no Yumgarl Gene Stealer to put into play. Oh my god, he's going to do it. So he has decided to trigger it. What is he going to do? Is he going to put the Gene Stealer Harvesters into play? I suppose the benefit of that unit is that if during the following... Okay, yes, so what he must be relying on is thinking that our Tau faction player probably doesn't have anything worthwhile in hand, and now he has no cards left at all. The Genestealer Harvesters show up in the HQ, but during the following round, they'll be following the Warlord to whatever planet it goes to. At present, Guy has 2 green strong point icons. He's therefore going to be sending his Warlord to Ossus 4. He's, I presume, counting on winning a battle at this planet this turn with Subject Omega. The Virulent Spore Sacks are currently in the process of exploding. They're going to infest the planet. They're going to deal 1 point of damage to all of these present enemy units. Note that the Earthcast Technician was outright killed by that effect. The Viorla Marksman is going to be softened. We could either see a combat action now used to kill off the Viorla Marksman prior to its opportunity to attack, or instead we could see that used on the Assault Valkyrie. Here we go. This is going to be the Viorla Marksman being augmented by the Catachan Outpost, and I believe there's no better time than the present to use Digestion Pool. There we go. Good on you, Guy Lev. That's going to be the Digestion Pool to put into play a 1-resource invasive Genestealer, and that is going to be the Viorla Marksman brought to 0 hit points. It is outright destroyed, and that is going to be the invasive Genestealer sitting pretty at 4 hit points until the end of the round. In any case, I believe I was in the process of saying as soon as the Genestealer Harvesters show up at this planet during our next turn's command phase, if that Tyranid player with all of these nasty-ass units sitting there is going to be able to win command, that's going to be an additional card and resource that he wins. Even though Fireblade Kyvray is a pain in the ass, I can't imagine that Travis is going to have a tremendous amount of cards in hand with which to use to discard his shields, and Fireblade Kyvray is going to be showing up exhausted, but our Tyranid player has the initiative token now that he's gotten rid of that nasty little ranged unit. Our Tau player has no shield cards in hand. There's not really much of anything that we can do. Commander Starblaze can try to kill off the Volatile Pyrovore here, but then he's going to take that explosion of 3 direct to his face, and it's going to be our Tyranid player's opportunity to attack first, so I can only imagine that the Volatile Pyrovore is going to be the first to swing. It can get in an attack of 3 prior to the opposition having any ability to do anything. I think if it were me, I'd take a swing at Commander Starblaze, and of course I'm just thinking Fast and Furious mid-commentary here, so a bit of a live stream of consciousness, but let's say Commander Starblaze takes 3 points of damage. Again, the Tau player cannot shield whatsoever. If Starblaze takes a swing, he'll be able to kill the Volatile Pyrovore, but then he will be bloodied as a response. He'll lose his reaction, and then he's going to have to dodge combat, the next round, or he shows up, then he has to waste a combat turn just to make sure Fireblade Kyvray is delivered to that planet, and then he has to leave. So let's see Volatile Pyrovore strike out, lash, and just, spew molten, burning incendiary whatever at Commander Starblaze. The Assault Valkyrie is going to be able to attack as well. If it kills the Volatile Pyrovore, then it's going to be just destroyed itself. We had seen Subject Omega exhaust. There we go. That's going to be the Volatile Pyrovore. So long as it's attacking something, I'm at least happy to see it do something. But I think that was a mistake, having the Volatile Pyrovore attack the Assault Valkyrie. Just because the Assault Valkyrie, either Commander Starblaze would have been forced to attack it and be bloodied himself or hit one of these targets. I guess he wants to make absolute certain that the Assault Valkyrie is destroyed, but seeing as how the Valkyrie only has 1 hit point remaining, why not use its attack and just blow up the Volatile Pyrovore? And then even though you're gonna die in return, at least you're getting rid of that target without your Warlord taking a bunch of damage in return. So, whether or not you agree with Guy's move or not, it just seems like I'd have done things slightly different. So the Assault Valkyrie, I suppose, takes a swing at the invasive Genestealer. Interestingly, are we going to see Fallback used as a shield just to make sure that there's as much outgoing damage as possible? I suppose the risk here is Commander Starblaze could use his next available action to retreat, as opposed to letting the Tyranid player deal out a significant bit of damage to him. So there we go. That's going to be Fallback used as shields. I suppose why save it for your Savage Warrior Prime next turn? It'll probably show up at Farron or Planum, though that's not really going to do any good. Like the Savage Warrior Prime, it doesn't have any command icons, and that just kind of sucks. So fall back is discarded as shields. The invasive Gene Stealer only takes 3 points of damage, which means that it's alive and well. I can only imagine that it is going to use its opportunity to take a swing at Commander Starblaze. So what are we gonna see here? I was saying what stinks for the following round is Savage Warrior Prime can't go to the same planet as Subject Omega, and because it doesn't have command icons, whether or not it triggers an additional battle or not, seeing as how Subject Omega is going to hopefully be winning the game on Ossus 4, then this Synapse unit is going to do absolute nothing. And even though Guy hasn't had much success using the Blazing Zoanthrope in previous videos, funny how in this match that would have definitely proven to be quite a bit more beneficial for him. But in any case, hindsight is 20/20, and you don't exactly know how a game is going to play out until you're in the process of playing it, as we are at present. The invasive Gene Stealers dealt a couple points of damage onto Commander Starblaze. Now Travis is kind of faced with a difficult decision here. Is he going to swing, potentially kill off one of these Tyranid units, or is he simply going to retreat with Commander Starblaze and then make sure that he remains unbloodied for the following round? Like, if Commander Starblaze kills this Termagant Sentry, he's not going to be able to be bloodied by Subject Omega, and I believe that's exactly what Starblaze is thinking here. So it looks as though we accidentally clicked on the wrong card, so the Sentry is going to be what's destroyed as opposed to the invasive Gene Stealer, so that way Starblaze can safely take a point of damage. He can show up to Ossus 4 the following round if he needs to. He can move a Sanctioned Psyker or whatever he plays to win command at an adjacent planet to that planet, and then Starblaze is going to be able to sponge up 1 point of damage. So this invasive Gene Stealer is back in play. It's going to be, of course, exhausted with 3 points of damage. It does have an ephemeral +1 HP boost, but of course, at the end of the phase here, that +1 HP is going to be gone, and the invasive Gene Stealer is going to die. So it looks like this is going to end up working out okay for Commander Starblaze. I suppose Subject Omega, I'd kind of forgotten that this Assault Valkyrie still needs to be dealt with, so Subject Omega uses his attack, of course, to kill off the Assault Valkyrie, and then I imagine at the end of the phase here, we're going to see Commander Starblaze retreat, and that's going to be Ossus 4 triggered by our Tyranid, which is going to be able to steal 1 point of resource, one individual lone resource token from Commander Starblaze, unless Travis does something so asinine as to stay at the planet, but of course, he's a far better player than that, a far better player than I am myself, I would imagine, if only for the tremendous experience discrepancy betwixt the two of us. But Ossus 4 is going to trigger. That's -1 resource for Travis, +1 resource for Guy. We're about to move into our HQ phase, and indeed we do, and now we're in the deploy phase. Taurus is going to be our new 5th final planet. So, very interesting card. If you have a battle, if you win a battle at that planet, if you control fewer units than does your opponent, you can generate 3 resources or draw 3 cards. So, Tau player ends up stumbling upon a copy of Ambush Platform and Suppressive Fire. Not exactly useful cards at this point. Starblaze can show up at Ossus 4, he can pull the Sanctioned Psyker over, then he can use Suppressive Fire to tap out an enemy Tyranid, but if he does that, then the Sanctioned Psyker is not going to be sitting there at that planet to win him 2 resources, but all the same, he's got a tremendous amount of resources and not really anything to use with him. He puts out that Ambush Platform. Perhaps he's hoping he'll end up drawing an attachment relevant to combat, but looks as though our Tyranid player puts a new copy of the Virulent Spore Sacs out to planet number 1 for free thanks to the digestion pool. Glaive Guy ended up drawing a copy of the Yumgarl Gene Stealer, and wouldn't you know it, he's got exactly 5 resources with which to play this big nasty elite Tyranid. So the way that this is going to work is, I presume, Subject is going to show up at that planet. The Yumgarl Gene Stealer is going to be able to be ambushed at that planet because it's infested, and that means it's going to be able to take a surprise swing of 6 and presumably bloody Commander Starblaze, and that is going to be a hell of a thing. Or if Commander Starblaze is not bloodied, then he'll be able to pick and choose which of these units he wants to kill. So clearly both of our players decide to send their warlords to planet number 1. It doesn't matter at all, but the Savage Warrior Prime shows up at planet number 3. In regard to, let's see... Okay, so looks as though there was perhaps a slight mistake in regard to command being 1. So that's going to be Guy winning at planet number 1. He'll earn 2 resources there. Travis, looks like Travis is only going to end up winning 1 card, 1 resource from Planum. He did come across a copy of Ion Rifle, which Catachan Outpost and Ambush Platform, putting into Ion Rifle into play for free, could make his Sanctioned Psyker attack for a possible total of 5, or he could use Suppressive Fire. Well, I guess Commander Starblaze could be exhausted to tap out an enemy Tyranid unit, which we could well see, but that might be kind of delaying the inevitable here. Guy, in total, ended up getting no cards and 4 resources. He got a copy of Shrieking Harpy. It's great for infested planets, but as nice as it would be to have on his side of the battle going into this presumably final battle, it's of course relegated to the confines of his hand and doing absolutely nothing for him. So here's what I would like to see. I would like to see Glaive Guy wait as long as possible to use the Yumgarl Genestealer, just because it would be a complete travesty if that 6 attack unit would jump into play only to be tapped out by Suppressive Fire. But we could well see that, and I suppose if that happens to happen, you know, whether it's outright killing a unit or simply taking one out of commission by merit of a unit needing to be exhausted to trigger a Suppressive Fire, I suppose either way it's eliminating 1 unit from combat. The Virulent Spore Sacks are going to be detonated. That's going to be 1 point of damage dealt out to each of these units. Travis does have he's got 2 1-shield icon cards in hand. I'll be curious to see what he uses Ion Rifle for and what he uses Suppressive Fire for. Glaive Guy, if he had a hand full of Genestealers, he'd be able to keep, putting them into play, ambush style, so long as Subject Omega is Hail, and this planet is infested. So kind of interesting throughout the Planetfall cycle. We've seen so many different cards key off of, planet types. Broderick War is all about green strong point type icons. Archon Selene Morn is all about red material type icons. Chaplain Mavros, and it looks like some of our Chaos cards are all about blue technology icon cards. Planet type icons, but the Tyranids do not really care. They cannot be bothered. All they care about is infestation. So just fascinating how the Tyranids never cease to be so different than the other factions. And of course it goes without saying that I'm very excited indeed to see what, if any, kind of Planetfall type mechanics the Necron faction comes across. So we see Commander Starblaze exhaust. What exactly is he going to be attacking? There's no Catachan Outpost augmenting him. Ambush Platform is as of yet unused. We could have seen Catachan Outpost augment Commander Starblaze to potentially threaten the destruction of Subject Omega, which would have resulted in the necessary deployment of the Yumgarl Genestealers prior to Subject Omega X being bloodied, and then he wouldn't have the opportunity to, surprisingly drop whatever into play. But because all of these effects are at an action speed, they're not kind of an interrupt speed. They're not like launch to snots. They're slow. They'll allow ample opportunity for our Tyranid player to kind of react. But is Commander Starblaze going to potentially try to kill off the Volatile Pyrovore? Is he going to accept his own bloodying by dispatching that unit? Seems like that may not be the worst idea, just because otherwise the Volatile Pyrovore could easily be a 2-for-1. But he could try to kill off the Scything Hormagaunts, and of course, Travis has no idea what these 2 cards in our Tyranid player's hand are. If only it were 2 copies of the Yumgarl Genestealer, that would just be absolutely ridiculous. But Commander Starblaze could deal a couple points of damage to Subject Omega. That would just be ridiculous. They could potentially kill off the Genestealer Harvesters. I suppose the best action in my mind would be to try to kill off the Volatile Pyrovore here. Yep, and indeed it looks like that's going to be the fate accepted. So Starblaze did his duty, his due diligence, whatever you want to call it. He brought over the Sanctioned Psyker. It's going to be a great target for Ion Rifle, Catachan Outpost, perhaps. Commander Starblaze is now bloodied in killing the Volatile Pyrovore prior to its opportunity to attack. Note that Starblaze was the player with the initiative token, and good on Heavy Marker Drone there for ensuring that our Tyranid player wasn't able to save the Volatile Pyrovore. Damn shame that this Shrieking Harpy isn't a copy of the Heavy Venom Cannon or something along those lines that would have spared the Volatile Pyrovore, because that would have just been absolutely gut-wrenching in, basically absorbing the attack from Commander Starblaze and surviving long enough to kill off one of these units and then eventually take a hit in return to be destroyed. So, Scything Hormagaunts take a swing. They're potentially going to kill off the Borkon recruits, and Suppressive Fire, Ion Rifle, both 1 shield value cards. What does that mean? It means that it's going to be insufficient to end up saving one of the copies of the Borkon recruits there, so the Hormagaunts do their work. Sanctioned Psyker is going to be augmented by the Catachan Outpost, and what are we going to see? There we go. That's going to be a copy of the Ambush Platform putting an Ion Rifle onto the Sanctioned Psyker, and now this is going to be a very difficult thing to see for our Tyranid player, because this is going to threaten the bloodying of Subject Omega. It's going to be able to attack for 5, and that means that Glaive Guy is going to need to put into play this Ymgarl Genestealer now, lest he miss his opportunity. So just to verify, Glaive Guy is going to be calling out 5. So prior to the Sanctioned Psyker attacking, he does have an action window, and he's going to need to put this Ymgarl Genestealer into play. But what absolutely sucks is his hand is going to be forced. He's going to have to put it onto the tabletop, and then the Sanctioned Psyker is going to be able to pick its target, being the Ymgarl Genestealer, and oh my god, it looks like Guy has decided to pass. He gave up his action, and if our players decide to... Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm going to say please go ahead. So, for the sake of the video... Alright, because that would have otherwise been ridiculous. So, just ensuring that it's going to be the Sanctioned Psyker swinging for 5. There we go. Now the Ymgarl Genestealer enters play, but it's not as if, Guy is going to get out of this scot-free. So the Sanctioned Psyker is now readily going to be able to redirect its fire to the Ymgarl Genestealer should the Psyker choose to do so. So I would only imagine that that's going to be the Psyker's actual target there. And yeah, it looks like Glaive Guy, in playing with a proxied version of an upcoming Warlord, totally happened to space the fact that presumably Subject Omega loses his ability upon being bloodied. So the Psyker is going to be readily able to redirect its attack. Perhaps Travis is taking time to type as opposed to, work through the motions of the game here, so he does indeed redirect his firepower to the Ymgarl Genestealer. Because there's not a Synapse unit present, it's only got 4 hit points, and therefore it's going to be destroyed. And therefore, that's kind of yet another thing to go to show that the Blazing Zoanthrope would have been a far better option in hindsight as chosen Synapse unit, just because that could have been stacked at this planet. That could have, potentially killed off Fireblade Kyvray for F's sake. Prior to his ability to do anything, and then Synapse unit being present would have meant that the Ymgarl Genestealer would have survived that attack. It would have been able to quite handily kill off some of the opposition here, but Subject Omega takes a swing at Fireblade Kyvray. That's going to be Suppressive Fire discarded as shields, and that means Fireblade Kyvray is going to end up surviving, so this is going to be a very close match indeed, but let's see how things end up being broken down. There's still time for this to go wrong, so Travis indicates that he is going to stay, Subject Omega indicates that he is going to stay. The Sanctioned Psyker is currently a 3/3 unit. It's going to have the opportunity to attack first, but Fireblade Kyvray, as a 2/1, takes his swing. He kills off the Genestealer Harvesters, and now it's going to be up to our Tyranid player. We could have both Tyranids, like let's say Scything Hormagaunts deals 2 points of damage to the Sanctioned Psyker. Wow, holy hell, is this a close match. So, Scything Hormagaunts, please go through this guy. Scything Hormagaunts attacks Sanctioned Psyker, deals it damage. Then we could see the Psyker presumably kill off the Scything Hormagaunts. Then Subject Omega finishes the Psyker. Then there's a new combat round. Then Fireblade Kyvray deals 2 points of damage to Subject Omega. And then Subject Omega seals the deal here. So Travis, looks like he and I are coming to the same mathematical conclusion by taking a look at our chat log. But let's see if Guy makes a mistake. I think it's going to be pretty important that Guy chooses to use his Hormagaunts attacking the Sanctioned Psyker. But let's see how things break down. If the Hormagaunts instead decide to kill Fireblade Kyvray, that could be the Sanctioned Psyker taking a shot of 3, killing off the Hormagaunts. Then it takes 2 points of damage from Subject Omega. I guess then it would have the opportunity to deal an additional attack. It looks like either case, Guy is eventually going to be able to win this one, but what an incredibly narrow margin. Looks like Guy says no, he doesn't think that he wins, but I would much rather our players actually play out this match as opposed to just sticking to conjecture and hypotheses in the chat window. So, for the interest in progressing our video, let's hope that our players take their attention away from our chat log, and let's see some additional blood. So, it's up to the Scything Hormagaunts. They do finally exhaust, thank you God, and they are going to take a swing at, so they're going to take a swing at Fireblade Kyvray. And now we could see the Sanctioned Psyker, let's say, deal 3 points of damage to Subject Omega. Subject Omega will be able to deal 2 points of damage to them. And then that's going to be a new initiative round. Sanctioned Psyker is going to be able to remove 1 Tyranid from the planet, but no matter what, then our Tyranid player is going to be able to win it. So Guy indicates that he is bad at math, and I unfortunately have to agree with the fellow. So let's see it. The Sanctioned Psyker, is it going to choose to kill off the Scything Hormagaunts, or is it going to deal some damage out to Subject Omega? So it does decide to go for the Warlord. It's going to go ahead and take a swing. I suppose if it were me, I wouldn't necessarily be revealing my hand. It's quite clear from what Guy is saying in the chat log that he doesn't hold an additional Gene Stealer to ambush into play in his hand. So there we go. That's going to be Subject Omega with 1 hit point remaining. Now Sanctioned Psyker has 1 hit point remaining, but it's definitely putting in work because of this Ion Rifle. I find it very interesting, come to think of it, that we didn't actually see a single signature card for Commander Starblaze throughout the entire duration of this video. No Searing Burst Cannon that doubles damage dealt by the affixed unit. Should you not use a shield card, there's no Ardent Auxiliaries, which ready when they're commit to the same planet as sits an AM unit. A lot of different interesting effects we didn't see. No Starblaze's Outpost that manages to replace, I believe, a Tau faction unit with an Astra Militarum one, or I think I have that vice versa. It's you replace an AM unit with a Tau unit, but there we go. That is going to be GG, so congratulations to Guy Lev for taking this one home. Subject Ω-X62113 is victorious. The Ion Rifle-equipped Sanctioned Psyker does manage to bloody our Gene Stealer trait Warlord, but of course it leaves itself unfortunately exposed, and the Scything Hormagaunts are able to deliver the killing blow. Very close indeed, but they are able to kill off that, Psyker, and I'd have been very curious to see how things would have played out had our, Travis narrowly managed to spare himself from losing the game that round, but be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think of our upcoming Tyranid Warlord. We'd also proxied a copy of the upcoming 1-cost, 2-attack, 2-hit point Gene Stealer trait Gene Stealer Prowler. The Gene Stealer Harvesters didn't really do much, but definitely I'd be curious to see Guy's deck played again with a Blazing Zoanthrope instead of the essentially ineffectual routed Savage Savage Warrior Prime, and, feel free to let me know what your thoughts were on Commander Starblaze in the comments as well. We didn't really get to see many Guy Lev-style tricks from our latest Tau faction warlord, but as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, you're always encouraged to share this content, as these exciting Planetfall preview videos are always a joy to watch, and the more players that end up exposed to this game, the more players see some of our upcoming exciting new mechanics, the more people may give Conquest a try, enjoy what they experience, join our community, and of course, all together we continue to send an ever stronger message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to pour dollars into research and development and production for this fine product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Facebook or on Twitter, and if you ever feel so inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I would be honored were you to make a donation to my Patreon. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.